Hey everyone, it's Misty with My Paper Cuts, and I'm coming on today with a card share for Saturday Morning Makes. This is an open collaboration that was created by the lovely Jill Norwood. I have linked her YouTube channel down below. You can also find her on Instagram under Greenwood Girl Cards. Jill created this open collaboration for everyone to share whatever they're working on in whatever their form of art is. All you have to do is use the hashtag SatMornMakes. You can post anytime, whenever your schedule permits. You can post your project at any stage, whether you're in the midst of working on it, or what your inspiration is going to be, or your completed project. Everyone just wants to see what you're working on. So use the hashtag SatMornMakes and join this wonderful collab. Today I am doing a card share. I am still working on my loose papers. This is the last of my smaller paper. This was 8 sheets of double-sided Authentique Romance paper that I received in a Simon Says Stamp card kit. I did make 7 cards today, and I did use a card sketch, but these are my leftover pieces, and the reason I only got 7 cards was because I wanted to make sure I had enough squares to intermix with the sketch that I used. So the sketch is from Freshly Made Sketches. It is number 229, and I thought that these squares turned to look like diamonds. This sketch just really spoke to me as a romantic style. It could easily lend itself to a romantic paper collection such as the one I'm using. So I wanted to make sure I had enough squares so that I could intermix, because some of these, would not look right with the backgrounds that there were. So these are my leftover pieces. I'll hang on to them briefly, but if I don't use them by the time I put my Valentine's Day stuff away, they will get recycled. And no, that does not pain me. So here's the card, and like I said, there are 7 and they all look a wee bit different. So the card itself, I did do corners with the Crocodile, the corner chomper. This is the one that has the stub and the deco corners. So hopefully you guys can see that shape. I do like this shape. I just wanted something a little bit more decorative on the edges. So all of the papers are edged with Distress Oxide and black soot. I like to use this when I want to use black to edge my papers, but I don't want it to be super stark. I wanted it to be softer, and I reach for this a lot. It is definitely worth having if you don't have it already. So the squares themselves, I did go around the edges with a tracing wheel again for the faux stitching. And I used 2 patterns, and then I used this one for my sentiment. So this was just a cream cardstock. Everything is mounted on a black mat, and then the sentiment is popped up on some foam just to make it stand out from the background a little bit more. I did use my new stencil on the background. That is this one that I picked up from Photobella. This is quickly going to become a favorite. And if any of you have these, I was a little shocked when I first opened it at how flimsy I thought this was, but this is actually a really nice material. It is very, very flexible, so it could be used for a lot of applications. It washed up beautifully. I am very, very pleased with the stencil. I'm so excited to have that in my stash. The paste that I used with that stencil is this one from Bo Bunny. It is just the gold stencil paste. I've had this in my stash forever. It is still just as creamy as the day I first bought it. It's wonderful. So then for the strip that was in the sketch, I decided to use my Tim Holtz crochet. I use this all the time. I love this die set. In fact, I have it 2 times. Sometimes I like to be able to run it through and cut 2 at a time out, just to save time, because I do make in multiples, but I'm also afraid something will happen to it. So I don't mind having 2. To make it easier to glue this down, I actually put a small strip of black cardstock over the top of the edge, and I did another line on it with my tracing wheel just to give it so it looks kind of sewn on. But then the edge of this could be loose, which gives it a little bit more interest, I think. So the sentiment piece the background of that is stamped in Distress Antique Linen. This is regular Distress ink. And that background right there is from this stamp set, which I already had out on my desk from a previous card set that I shared. And this is from my Mind's Eye Lost and Found, and this one's called Beautiful. To make sure I got a decent image, I didn't want it to be perfect, but stamping with these inexpensive stamps combined with Distress ink can be a little bit tricky. So I made sure I used my stamp positioner so I could stamp it several times, and then I actually had to stamp it like 3 times just to get it to be that consistent, but I think it was worth it. And then the sentiment is from Stampenda's Love Always. This is an older stamp set. I don't even know how, oh, it's from 2015, so I've had this for a while. But I love this because this is all just really nice lovey-dovey sentiments. So I used You Will Forever Be My Always here, and then on the inside I used this sentiment here. So I kept it pretty simple. Usually I'm always trying to, you know, hunt down different stamp sets for the inside and the outside, and lately I've just been using whatever's in the stamp set I'm using. My goal, like I said, is to create faster, and so I'm trying to not overthink things. So that is the front of the card, and then the inside I have that sentiment that I just mentioned, and I did stamp again since I already had this out. For some interest, I used these 2 banners, and I stamped the more doily looking one again with the antique linen, and it did take 3 times again to get kind of a consistent color. And then the pink one here is in the Distress Oxide Worn Lipstick. So I just wanted a pop of color on the inside. So I will show you the rest of the cards. This one has the pink wood background. I did just randomly stencil, so some have more gold than others. I think the red ones are my favorites, just because red is my favorite color. But they're all, to me, very, very beautiful in their own way. And even though, you know, this was in my Valentine's Day bin, I was able to make cards that are just love themed. So there are my 7 cards. Thanks for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.